So I'm not asking whether Ye can be a follower of Judaism. Ye identifies as Christian, but seems to be taking up the Jew identity because of some deeper reason. This episode of Topics in Black Religion will explore the validity of Jewish identity claims of Ye and other African Americans, dissect the complicated ways that ethnic and religious identities interact, and theorize on how Kanye's spiritual identity is affecting his view on his work and his life's mission.
I'm just not worried, period. God is alive. God runs the world.
So this is what Ye has to say about identifying as Jewish on the Lex Friedman podcast.
If Jewish people would accept that I'm Jew, then they would see what I'm saying in a different way. They would hear it in a different way.
But see, the people, you saying you're Jewish, that...
No, I'm Jew, not Jewish. Jewish means like that of a Jew. I'm saying I'm Jew.
You're Jew.
Blood of Christ.
That
Orthodox
comes
Christian.
From, right.
Now, this is what this whole YouTube video is about. Identity. Ye is claiming a Jew identity that's very important to him, even though Lex, who is Jewish, doesn't recognize Ye as such. For Ye, being Jew seems to do with religious identity, or maybe more accurately, spiritual identity, and ethnic identity. Ye is saying that ancient Israelites are the ancestors of the African American community, and this has religious and spiritual implications that pair with the ethnic implications. It's important to know that Ye's identity as Jew seems to be important for how he sees himself doing God's work.
What I'm doing or how God is using me, I'm showing where our voices are being muted.
During this interview, Lex and Ye cover a range of topics, but one constant thread is that Lex keeps challenging Ye on his comments about Jewish people. One of Ye's main defenses is that he's Jew as well, and in the process, he makes a comparison between the Jewish Holocaust and the Holocaust that he says his people are going through today, which he says is abortion. These are the type of statements he makes throughout the video.
We're still in the Holocaust. A Jewish friend of mine said, go visit the Holocaust Museum. And my response was, let's visit our Holocaust Museum, Planned Parenthood.
This is going to be one of the main topics throughout this video. That even in the wake of the White Lives Matter shirt controversy, as well as comments about the George Floyd incident, Ye's main mission seems to be something pro-black. In tandem with his Jew identity is his African American identity, and he seems to have something special in his heart for his smaller tribe of African Americans.
You've literally tried to make me re-apologize 10 times in this meeting, re-say this, re-say that, but it doesn't change the fact that my people are sick, and I'm the only person in my position that will say that my people are sick. Today, not 30 years ago, not 60 years, my people are sick today. 50% of my people's of deaths are abortion today. My people don't have the opportunities today. So I have to have a responsibility, obviously to all people, but specifically to my tribe, because tribes move.
So does Ye see himself as African American or as Jew? It seems like both, because Christian is his religious identity and Jewish isn't his religious identity, and leaves some room for his Jew identity to be an ethnic identity as well as a spiritual identity. By spiritual, I mean that it has some type of spiritual meaning for Ye. According to Ye, and maybe Kyrie too, the true history of African Americans goes back to Israel. According to this theory, then hundreds of years later, black Jews migrated to West Africa and from there were taken into American chattel slavery. After Ye claims to be Jew, Lex asks this.
Are you a follower of the philosophy of the black Hebrew Israelites?
He shakes his head no.
Because that's where the idea comes from. Not all of those folks are extremists, but some are extremists.
The new religious movement that Lex is talking about is the Black Hebrew Israelites. Central to this group is the belief that African Americans are the descendants of ancient Israelites, and the movement has a wide range of organizations that differ in belief and practice. Some groups lean more towards Christianity, and others more towards Judaism. For the most part though, Black Hebrew Israelites don't in fact have Jewish practices, but rather are more so Black Christians that have de-emphasized the New Testament and found an identity in the identification with Israel. They usually go by Black Hebrews or Hebrew Israelites instead of Jews. And one reason that Lex says that some of them have been extremists is that in 2019, the Southern Poverty Law Center identified 144 Black Hebrew Israelite organizations as Black separatist hate groups because of anti-white, anti-Semitic rhetoric.
What is a Jewish man? Synagogue of Satan! The Bible says synagogue of Satan! The Lord said the so-called Jewish man is not the real Jew because of synagogue of Satan.
While I do think it's inaccurate, I think it's funny that on the Wikipedia page for Black Hebrew Israelites, it has a quote of a former KKK Grand Wizard saying, "They're the black counterparts of us." Not exactly the best reputation. But because Jay shakes his head no, and because he identifies as Jew, not Hebrew or Israelite, we know that he's not one of the Black Hebrew Israelites. It's possible to hold this belief about African Americans being descendants of Asian Israelites without being Black Hebrew Israelite, and I personally come across a couple of Black people myself who fit into this category. This seems to be where Ye's head is, because his personal reasoning for African Americans being Jews isn't the traditional Black Hebrew Israelite reasoning. Instead, it's that all life started in Africa.
I'm a follower of the idea. I have a vague idea that all people came from Africa.
From the outside perspective, one might be curious why certain African Americans would feel the need to claim Jewish identity in addition to their own African American identity. While there are a myriad of reasons that could underline this identity claim, I personally think that it has something to do with the feeling of some African Americans that don't necessarily feel like they have a respectable history to be wrapped into. So when someone says that African Americans are essentially God's chosen people, that means something special for a group led to believe that they weren't special. Regardless of what's motivating Ye to identify as Jew, it also seems to have a certain importance for Ye. He's saying that because he's Jew, just like Jewish people, he has the ability to make comments about the Jewish media without being anti-Semitic. However, rather than addressing this, Lex pushes back on Ye's statements on Black abortion being a modern-day Holocaust.
If Jewish people would accept that I'm Jew, then they would see what I'm saying in a different way. They would hear it in a different way.
With all due respect, I grew up in the Soviet Union. I'm Jewish. Parts of my family perished in the Holocaust of Nazi Germany. I have to push back that there is a difference of the atrocities at that scale, at that time, on an entire people.
I was going to say the number, that's the difference.
It's not the number.
Because 6 million, well, also, African Americans are actually Jew also, the lost tribe of
I can
Israel.
push back on that too.
Okay, so, well, everyone came from Africa.
Another reason that African Americans being Jew is important to Ye is that he feels like white Jews have found a way to get their respect from the world, and Ye wants a similar thing for African Americans. Repeatedly in the Drink Champs interview, he says that he's jealous of Jewish people for the way that they don't abort their kids and how they read their contracts. For Ye, recognizing his Jewish identity did something big for him spirituality-wise, and he probably feels like other African Americans would have the same benefit if they take up their Jew identity as well. When I read an article called Black Judaisms and the Hebrew Israelites, it said that normative Black Jews, Jews who either follow conversion or have a Jewish mother, are for the most part frustrated with Black Hebrew Israelites saying they come from Asian Israelites. This is probably because these Israelites often reject the identification with the modern Jewish community or practice, or at least are unwilling to undergo conversion. Pretty much because their own claim, according to them, is stronger than the white Jewish normative claim to Judaism. And the people of European descent are not Jewish and have been told so by mistake.
The Lord said those that come from the tribe of Judah are black as what? Unto the ground! Unto the ground. According to the Bible, and we're the Israelites according to the Bible. We're the Lord's chosen people.
Again, this isn't what Ye believes. I think he's saying that both of them are Jewish and they have some type of descendancy line that brings them all together. However, Lex, who is Jewish, doesn't agree with Ye's Jew identity. The reason is that the normal reasons that apply to Jewish people, whether having a Jewish mother or converting to Judaism, don't apply to Ye. This launches us into an interesting conversation about in-groups and out-groups. In this circumstance, Jewish people are the in-group because they're the ones being defined, and everyone else is the out-group because they are what's being defined against. For you to be in an in-group, you have to fit certain details. However, unless you have an unambiguous definition, the in-group can be defined so narrowly or widely that it becomes inaccurate. If Lex said that Ye wasn't Jewish because of the way that he worships, that definition of Jewish would exclude a large number of Jewish people that aren't religious. If Lex said it was because Ye was African American without being specific, that could be a problem as well. It's also very interesting because as a Jewish person, Lex undoubtedly has the right to determine whether Ye is Jewish, right? Or does he? As a certified member of the in-group, does he get to define who fits in the in-group? Because everyone will have a different definition of being Jewish, the matter is complicated even further. Does Ye simply have the right to say he's Jew because he has the right to self-identify as he wants? I'm not sure. What I do know is that the importance is probably more spiritual than ethnic for Ye. It's not necessarily that he would be more proud of being Jewish than the traditional African-American history. I think, as a religious person, he wants a stronger connection to being God's people. At one point, he talks about the Jewish people being slaves.
But here's another interesting point about this. This was said to me one time and it stuck with me as a family member of mine. With Africans, how many times you've heard like a rapper or, talk about we were kings? That's incorrect if we're Jew. If we're Jew, and since we are, we weren't the kings. We were the people that Moses freed.
For the last couple of years, Ye's faith has been extremely important for him. He sees everything he does as God's work, and he feels like he has a personal relationship with God who guides him. You can hear it in the following quote in which Ye says, he's doing God's work by building monasteries.
Well, watch this. I was building shelters. I bought land in Calabasas, and I bought 2 ranches in Wyoming. 300 acres in Calabasas, 12,000 acres in total in Wyoming. And I started building ideas for shelters. And God set it on my heart to make monasteries, which would be modern day facilities that don't turn people down, that have farms, shelter, clothing. But first of all, water. First of all, knowledge, because knowledge is the most important resource to our species above water.
Doing God's work also applies to his pro-Black decisions. As God's people and as part of his own racial tribe, Ye sees African Americans as his people who he needs to look out for. Later in the interview, he talks about how he's the only person in his position who can speak on what's happening and how his people, Black people, are sick.
My people are sick. If I load up Apple Music right now and I play the top songs in the rap chart, I would tell you my people are sick. If I go to the restaurants and opportunity zones and we look at the calorie rating and the cholesterol, I will tell you that my people are sick. If we look at the obesity rate, if you go to just a restaurant somewhere in Middle America, Denny's or something, I went to Denny's the other day, you will see that my people are sick. And my people meaning all people, right? But Black people are very influential to all people.
My favorite part of the interview that discusses the problems that Ye sees with business is when he's talking about his stem player company. He gets upset when he discovers that out of the 100 employees for the company, only 2 are Black. He says that at the moment, he felt like he needed to take some type of action to ensure that he provides more opportunities for African Americans. In the process of talking about it, he makes an interesting point about Black culture in popular media.
As a Black owner of 2 tech platforms, hardware and software, I need to take action. Let's not call it affirmative. Let's just say I need to take action. I need to take accountability in ensuring that Black engineers are hired, and guess what? Hired together. Because when the Black people that are brilliant are separated from our culture, we forget who we are. And we'll get to a point where, OJ will say, I'm not Black, I'm OJ. Because just to be on the golf course, we put on the golf shirt. But the golf shirt might not be something that our culture would have done. And now our culture in poor communities is, oh, everybody's got Draco on them. Everybody's got a gun on them. Oh, if you run up on me on the gas station, I'm gonna kill you. Hey, you ain't gotta talk to me like a man if I haven't killed at least 5 people. But you know what happens is we can kill 5 people, we could kill 10 people and still be in the media as long as we play by the rules, right?
This past section deals with identity because Ye is saying that there's something about popular Black culture that encourages negative living habits. This even more so reinforces the importance of the Jewish spiritual identity that Ye is taking on. Instead of encouraging things popular in mass media like drinking, smoking, and sex, Ye is encouraging his people, African Americans, to live a God-like existence.
And do you get what I'm saying? That's a beautiful personal journey you're on. But do you get what I'm saying?
It's not personal, it's for my people as a whole. As a tribal
it's a small
person,
company. It's a small company.
As a tribal person, I believe that I am my people.
Yeah.
And the thing that businessmen, have done to my people, have pulled the brightest out of our tribes and siloed them and made us lose our culture and lose who they were.
The last part of the interview that I feel like I needed to include is a point that Ye makes at the end about culpability and opportunity differences between Jewish people and African Americans.
If a black person gets pulled over with a car and it's 3 other people in the car, they're also going to jail. They're not going to single them out. They're gonna say, you guys are all in collusion. What I'm saying is, look, I want to work with you as an engineer to free my people.
At some point in the video, Ye calls himself a prophet of this generation instead of a leader. He says that the leader should be more intelligent. The reason that I would guess he sees himself as a prophet is because the prophet sees what's going on in the world and calls it out. The prophet speaks on behalf of God, and that's the role that Ye seems to see himself in. What can I say? He's Kanye.